Welcome. This is For Better and Worth,
the podcast where we don't believe you have to sacrifice your relationship while you build your net worth.
We are your hosts.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Ericka Young, and we're so glad you joined us today.
All right, y'all, come on. Let's get into it. Hey, guys, we are back with the For Better and Worth podcast.
Yes, we are so glad that you joined us again today.
Look, we appreciate you guys. Keep pressing play, and we want to just keep bringing you things that are going to be stimulating, let's say.
And that's going to be today's conversation because we are going to talk about needs versus wants. And
Look,
this is not going to be easy for us.
Look, you got a whole bunch of needs and wants, but we're going to get to the bottom of what's real.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's time. It's time to draw a line in the sand and maybe get a tad uncomfortable. And it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right.
Look, I think people say, well, I need this. I need that.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of those needs really, are they needs?
Yeah.
If we start to break it down, what are the needs?
Mm-hmm.
And what I think people are missing is you're sacrificing the bigger picture for what you want.
Yes.
Today.
The things you want today. It's so easy to fall into that trap of, I need this. And the desire is so strong in your want that you turn it into a need. And that is dangerous, actually.
Look, so we're going to go and we're going to jump into this. But before we do that, we just really need to set the stage. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about what is a need.
Yeah.
Because people use that word and they use it a lot. Mm-hmm. But I think it has really become blurry. You know, there's a lot of gray space around need when needs really are black and white. You either need it or you don't.
Yeah.
You know, and we're going to talk about the black, the white, the gray, and all the things in between. So for me, when I define needs, from, you know, your family, food, clothing, shelter, transportation, medical care, those are all absolutely needs.
Yeah. And I think when you think about the need, I typically will say to folks, it's a need if someone has lost their job and you're still willing to pay for it, or you have to pay for it. So you have to have a roof over your head. You need to have some electricity in your home, especially in the wintertime. You know, you have to have food on the table. You know, the kids probably need diapers. That might fall under clothing, right? Medical and mental health care. Like, these are things that are required, prescriptions, right? So what would you really go to bat for and scrap for when money is tight? That's a need, right? And so that is important to distinguish because we really in America love to live our lavish lifestyles, and it's really hard to separate what is necessary from what is unnecessary. And identifying those needs is the very first place to start.
Look, needs have a permanent line on the budget.
Correct. Oh, that's good. Thank you.
Because wants, that's something that you have to fill in.
Ooh.
That's extra. But a need, it has a permanent place, a permanent position on the budget.
Yes.
And wants, you really do have to just fill it in, because I said food, clothing, shelter, transportation, medical care, but I even say clothing within reason.
Yes. Okay, let's talk about that. Listen, okay, so let's back up. Hold on. You talk about a lot when you were coming up how your mom took really good care of you guys to the best of her ability within her means, and your needs were met. Can you just speak into how she did that? What did that look like? And, you know, how did that play out for you as a young person? Like, how did you experience that?
Look, my mom always made sure we had food.
Mm-hmm.
My mom always made sure that we had a place to live that was clean, that was safe, that was all the things that you need to call home. It might not have been in the best of neighborhoods. We might not have had, the newest furniture or whatever, but it was home. It was comfortable, and all the things that you would call home, we had, And when it came to clothing, like I told you all before, my mom would put my clothes in layaway, which, you young people out there, y'all don't know about layaway.
Right.
But she would put our clothes, basically on a little payment plan until we got them. But that was really like for back to school. And when you got those clothes, that's when you came home. My mom was like, "Hey, take those clothes off. Them school clothes. Take them school clothes off. Go put some of your older clothes on if you're going to go outside." That's when I was young.
The play clothes, right?
Right.
You have a different set of clothing that you wear when you come home so you don't mess up those school clothes, right?
Right. And it wasn't until I, was a teenager and I started working that I started buying my own clothes and stuff like that. But as I think about it, she made sure those basic necessities were met. And I think that translated with us, with our kids. When we were younger, when we first got married and we had kids, we made sure they had the things that they needed. They had food, they had clothing, they had shelter. We made sure the cars were working. And when we talk about needs, yeah, you need transportation, but you don't need a new car.
Come on now.
You need reliable transportation.
Yes.
But, we're gonna get into the wants. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm just trying to set the stage a little bit because, I need a new car. Well, do you need a new car?
Right. You need a vehicle, right? And there is a distinction. My mother had a similar philosophy. Like, we always had the basics taken care of. And my mother was someone who thank you, she is someone who has written down her needs and things of that nature. And I would always see her calculating and taking it seriously so that everything that was in her responsibility that she was able to take care of. And that is something that I have been pretty open about too. Like in our journey is, our kids would see us with our budget. They might see us writing out a tithe check, or they might see us, calculating some things and discussing some of the numbers or talking about how much money we have in cash for things. And I think having them as a witness to the reality of life and not shielding them from that has been very helpful. And so I love how you put the needs are a permanent item on the budget and the wants filter in and out and or those numbers change. And so I think that is really, really good and something that we kind of need to pause and really think about what is permanent. And then we also need to consider why it's permanent, right? So if a want has become permanent, let's discuss why. But we'll get to that. But I think our mothers did the best that they could. And we didn't lack for any good thing. And that is an important thing. I think when we have more means, we tend to expand what we consider to be a need. And that is not what is going to help you get to your eventual wealth goal.
Look, we're going to talk about, some of those money meetings in future episodes.
Yes.
But I know even now, even today, when we have money meetings, we say, okay, so what's extra this month? What do we need to add to the budget? Because those are clearly things that are, either unexpected or they're extra things that we're trying to do or we're looking to do. So we are mindful of that. And so you have to be mindful of how you approach budgeting and what you do. But those needs, I really do think there are some fundamental things that just live in the budget.
Yeah.
We talk about food. Food is, to me, going to the grocery store, buying groceries, and you can cook. But once, I feel like that's going out to eat out, to dine out. And you can put that on a budget and have a place for it, but is it like $200-$300 a month? Probably not. That need to be in the grocery.
Or $500-$600 a month. Like, I have seen some stuff. Let me talk about. I'm not gonna put any names out there. All of my client stories are anonymous. Thank you very much. However, dining out is that little thing that creeps up. I hear so many people say, "Well, we gotta eat. We have to eat. I cannot tell you if I had $1 for every time I heard that in the last 18 years of coaching. Oh, well, we had to eat. Well, we don't have time.
We had to go out and spend $200 on dining
Oh
out.
my goodness. Dining out is that thing that creeps up and you have no idea. Most of the time, people do not know how much they are spending. They underestimate their spending on dining out. So if there were one thing to take away is to please add up your dining out expense and see how much it totals to for a 30-day period, because I think you'll be surprised. Food is a necessity. Dining out is not.
That's a luxury.
It is. It is. It is. And I think that a lot of people can confuse the two. So let's talk about some wants, honey. We already started talking about that dining out. What is another want that you would say?
People say they need clothing, but you don't have to have designer clothing. Mm-hmm. And, look, I'm not knocking designer clothing. I like some nice things. I've got my own share of designer clothing. But
yeah. His closet is worth more than mine. Let's just be honest.
Hold on now. Don't put my business all out in the streets like this.
Wait a minute. His shoe collection is more extensive than girlfriend over here. So I'm just putting your business out into the world. It's okay. It's all right.
Look, we men only have certain things that we can. You all have a whole lot more to work with.
Don't even put that out there. You like nice stuff. Okay, let's just be real. And here's what I will say. Yes, you like nice things where it comes to clothes and stuff like that. But when we were in debt, you were reasonable about it. We had discussions about it. When we did not necessarily agree, we would figure out, if not now, when. So you've always liked nice things or things that tend to cost more, but it had its place when when we were in debt. And so we did not put those nice things onto debt. We figured out how to pay cash for it, or we waited until the time was appropriate.
That's right. And you'll get needs, and we say clothing, because in a family of four, somebody's going to need something on a monthly basis. So that's why you have to have it built into your plan, built into your budget, and you've got to make sure you do that. And like we're talking about a lot of the, financial side of it, but here on the For Better and Worth podcast, it all comes back to the relationship also.
Yeah.
And what you guys will hear in, how we talk is Ericka and I are all about making sure that, we get into alignment. Mm-hmm. And alignment is not always easy.
Yeah.
But let's get back on this want train. And so, kids or adult activities, those are wants.
Yes, activities. Now, it's hard. It is hard to think that Johnny's soccer fees is not a need. It's hard to see these extras for our children as a want.
Look, if you're talking about AAU basketball or travel baseball or, gymnastics or all this different stuff, man, I hear about people paying amounts for these types of things that are like college level tuition.
It's a lot of money, and it is not a need. It is a want. It is a luxury. It is a nice to have. And we are making these things available to our children. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it if you're in debt. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that know its place. If there are areas to find room for improvement, this may be an area for you. And one thing back in the day, do you remember this, Chris? Like back in the day, there was this moment where I felt like we just had so many things going on when our kids were little, and we took a season off of activities. We just took one season. I believe it was a fall season. We said we are not doing sports activities, etc., just to kind of recalibrate, because it was so much going on. And I have a feeling it was while you were in your master's program, and there was just so many different things going on. But we just said, let's pause for a moment. Financially, it was helpful. It gave us some rest. It gave us some time to connect as a family where we weren't doing a whole bunch of stuff. And all we did was press pause. We didn't say we were never going to go back to it, but we pressed pause. And I just remember how valuable it was for us to just sort of reset in that moment with our family, because it's easy to just get caught up in all of the things all of the time. And once you are on that speedy train towards paying for all of the stuff and your kids never being in the house with you, it's hard to get off of that train. And I can't even remember what the motivation was or who brought up the idea first, but I remember how valuable after the fact it was that we had that little moment of 3 months of a reprieve. And there have been seasons where we've done similar things, not necessarily with activities, but I think that there might be moments where that pause is necessary.
Look, we talk about resetting and we talk about alignment a lot. And sometimes you need to just pause. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's what resets are.
Yeah.
Resets are moments where you stop and you step back, because in life moves so fast. And when life is moving fast, sometimes it tries to make you or force you to make decisions at that same pace.
Yeah.
And if we make decisions at the speed of life, I think we make wrong decisions. That's how we end up in debt, or that's how we wind up doing things that we know we shouldn't. And taking a pause and stepping back will cause you to say, okay, is this really a want or a need? And I'm not saying to anybody out there who has their kids in any of those activities I named that you're doing anything wrong, because we exposed our kids to a myriad of things. Mm-hmm. We wanted them to try this, but we started with soccer. We started at the YMCA.
That's right. Like, there are ways to do this less expensively and still have it in your plan.
Hey, we lived in Arizona, and like every kid needed to learn how to swim because there were pools everywhere.
Right.
But we started at the YMCA with the less expensive swim classes, mm-hmm. and then moved them up and progressed. But we looked for ways to get them exposed to different things that didn't cost us an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes you have to just really just do a little additional research, look around, don't be moved by what you see everybody else doing out there, because, you know, back in our day, we called it keeping up with the Joneses.
Right.
But today, you all need to stop trying to keep up with the Kardashians, because, you know, they got money and, you know, we trying to get there.
Right. And that's the point. You don't have their bank account. Why are you trying to keep up with somebody you ain't got their bank account? Come on now. Like, literally, I think it's important for you to, the whole concept of living within your means is based on determining your needs versus your wants. It is based on looking at what fits inside of the income that you currently have. And if you're not okay with said income, right, then now it's time to up-level skill sets, look for new job opportunities, get a business on the side going, whatever it is. That's fine too. But that's playing offense, right? Like, that's out going and making some new scores, right? The defense is when you're pushing back on the world and saying, I'm not doing it the way you're doing it because I desire something different.
I love it. Look at her out here with these sports analogies. Offense and defense. Look at you. Go ahead on, girl.
Come on, babe.
But look, let's keep going, because when we made this list, I was like, man, there's a whole lot of wants that people can disguise as needs, mm-hmm. like vacations.
Woo! See?
Everybody wants to take a good vacation, but when you're in that moment or you're in that season of trying to get out of debt, trying to build wealth, maybe your vacation isn't, you know, exotic. Maybe your vacation is a road trip.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a change of scenery.
Right. This one hurt my heart a little bit, because I enjoy a nice vacation. This one, when you said that, I said, oh, shoot, this is mine right here that make me sad. But we did think about, you know, doing it differently. There were times when we did a staycation. We went to a hotel that was about 30 to 45 minutes away from our home and had a weekend in a different hotel with a swimming pool and let the kids have a good time. And it was vastly less expensive than a flight somewhere or any type of Disney trip or some beach vacation. We still had a little getaway. And that's the difference, right? We're not saying you can't do it at all. We're just saying, how can you do it within the parameters that you have?
Oh, my God, man. Going to Disney, you got to take out a small loan.
Woo! See, what we're not going to do.
And so, yeah, I love a vacation, but Maybe it's driving to an amusement park that's, a couple hours away.
Right.
And you guys are going to, go hit the park, drive home. Or maybe you're going to go hit the park, stay one night in a reasonable hotel, and then hit the park again and come home.
Right.
But it's just doing things differently because that's a want. That's not necessarily a need. And I do believe that we all need moments where we have breaks. But we go back to what we talk about. You got to think about what is the big thing that you're saying yes to. Are you trying to keep on track with your goal, or are you going to allow these things trying to be what spring break comes, everybody goes away, oh, we got to go away. Mm-hmm. Or are you going to say, we know spring break is coming and we would like to go somewhere, so let's think about it, let's plan for it. Mm-hmm. So just be mindful in your thought process.
Do you remember when we went spur of the moment to Disneyland? Do you remember that? Like our kids, I think our youngest was about to turn 2, and kids under 2 were free at the park.
No, you know what it was? We had went.
Yes.
And we could go again.
In that same year.
In the same year. And the kids could get in for free.
That's right. That's right. And so we drove to Disneyland and surprised the kids. They had no idea where we were going. We were like, we're just going to go for the weekend. And we drove there and it was amazing. But when we went to the park, we left for lunch and had our Kroger lunch in the car.
Look, we weren't playing around, people.
We were serious about this. Like, we were like, okay, you know what? This park is not about to get our $100 just for lunch for 4 people. We had our sandwiches and our stuff from Kroger.
We had all the snacks that the kids wanted.
That's
right.
And
it actually worked out well because we went back to the car.
Yep.
We were tired.
Yes.
The kids were tired. It was hot. Mm-hmm. We turned the air conditioning on in the car. We cooled off, we ate our lunch, we regrouped, then we went back and we had more fun. Mm-hmm. But if we didn't have that kids get in free, we might not have gone at all. So we were like, look, you know what? Disney tried to get us, but we're going to get Disney this time.
That's right.
We got that 2 visits for the price of 1.
I love it. And I think, sometimes it's just being savvy. Like, I think the biggest thing that the biggest misconception I don't want people to have is that you have to deprive yourself in an effort to gain wealth or reach your goals or get out of debt. That is not what we employed. We definitely wanted to live well. We wanted to enjoy. We wanted to have moments that we could create memories inside of with our kids. And we did that. And it was all on a budget, or it was all with cash. I mean, once we had made the decision and drew the line in the sand that it was going to be no new debt, we did that thing with cash. And so I don't want the vacation to follow me home, period.
And look, understand that we didn't deviate. Because Ericka said we drew a line in the sand, we made a commitment, we developed a mindset that, one, we're going to go on this journey and we're going to do the things necessary today to get out of debt, to put us in a position to grow and begin to build wealth.
Yep.
And so as you're developing your plan, you may need to do that same thing. Mm-hmm. Draw the line in the sand, say this is what we're going to do. But be mindful along the way that you have to make adjustments, you got to look at the budget, and you got to do the things that are necessary to accomplish that bigger goal.
Yeah.
And we're talking about needs versus wants. And so I'm going to get back on that need train because we talked about transportation being a need. But when you start talking about wants, you want a new car. Mm-hmm. You see your friends or family or someone else, they pull up in their new car that they've either bought or they've leased. Because, I'm not leasing any vehicles. Mm-hmm. And to this day, we still don't buy new cars. Yeah. We buy cars that are 2 years, a couple of years old. So somebody else is taking the depreciation. And then we go and we pay cash for cars now. But a new car is not a need. Yeah. What you need, like I said previously, is reliable transportation that can get you to work, get you where you need to go. I don't want to be riding around in a junk car, but, sometimes you just got to make sure it's reliable.
Right. And I think that's the difference here is we convince ourselves that reliable means new. or we convince ourselves that something safe is something that is going to have a car note. And I understand the mistrust. I honestly do. I understand how it's challenging when you have babies or little people or you do a lot of driving and you don't want a lemon. We get it. Understood. You can't prevent that though, even with a newer car. You can't prevent that. Sometimes there are recalls, sometimes things happen. And so this is where you just have to trust, right? So you have to, one, have faith in the process of getting out of debt and that, hey, I'm committed and I'm going to make a choice here. And maybe it's repairing a vehicle that you have instead of trying to replace that vehicle, keeping that vehicle for another year or two while you are making space or while someone is in school or while you're building, a higher income. But I think it's hard. I think a vehicle is something that a lot of people tend to see that they're going to always have a payment for. Like people see that as a part of the budget that remains all the time, like you
I
mentioned in the
think
very
it's a
beginning.
permanent line on the budget. Is car note.
Yes.
No, that's debt, people.
It is. It is because it is an obligation on a monthly basis. And that is still bondage. It still ties you to interest, even if it's 4% interest. Let's be clear.
So let's keep working through this list of wants. And so a dream home.
Ooh, come on, honey.
Look, I think a whole we talking about these things at a whole episode.
Oh, it is. Oh, we gonna have that conversation about the house. We gonna have that conversation. But yeah, dream home.
But when we talk about needs, maybe it's not the time to buy a house. Maybe renting for a season is okay.
Yeah.
Because I tell Ericka all the time, man, everybody says they want a house until they get one.
Woo.
Because with a house comes a lot of maintenance, a lot of upkeep, expenses that you can't always plan for. And so, maybe it's a time or a season to rent while you get out of debt. And then when you get in a position to purchase a home, do that in the proper way.
Yeah.
Be able to put, money down and get low interest, short timetables, 15 years. That's what you should shoot for if you can do that.
Yeah.
And, so maybe the dream home, that's something down the line. And
Right. I got some bad advice when I first entered corporate America years ago. And this gentleman that I was working with, he said, get the maximum amount of home that you can afford in the moment. And you'll grow into it. And man,
that don't even make stupid sense.
it doesn't. It's like, okay, the mortgage lenders are going to allow you to get a mortgage that is at the top. Like they will say you can qualify for this huge amount because of your income or because you're taking out a 30-year loan. You can probably get more house because that payment over 30 years is going to be less than the payment over 15 years. And so these little tricks to get you into a home that is going to overextend you for a season, that's a trap. And the very truth of the matter is, yes, we can talk about this later, but there was a house in our past that we extended ourselves quite a bit for.
Oh, look, you opened it up. I was already going to say that, we went from renting, we actually built a home. It was in our budget. It was
Starter
affordable.
home.
It was nice. But then, we started feeling ourselves a little bit. We were like, we out of debt. We could do blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, we got a house. I was like, ooh, this mortgage is kind of large.
Oh, my goodness. And then 2008 and 2009 kicked us in the tushy.
Okay, I'm going to fast forward past that because that brings that bad mojo.
Sorry.
Bad juju. It takes me into a negative place, a negative zone.
Yes. We had a moment. We'll get there. But yes, I mean, we didn't do everything right. And I'm not going to say that it was necessarily something I regret. It was a mistake, and there's mistakes all the time, and I would be regretting tons of things if that were the case. It was a learning.
Yes.
It was a time to make sure that we learned our lesson.
And what's great is that we did learn. Now, we made the mortgage, and we paid that thing on time. We did everything. We built equity in it, and, we took losses in 2008. But when we moved again, we were like, nope, not doing that again. We're going to learn from that. And though we could qualify for more home, we said, no, we are going to set our limit to this.
Yes.
And we said, it doesn't matter what any lender says, we will not exceed this amount.
Yeah, we learned our lesson. We definitely didn't return to that again. And I think that because your home is the biggest investment that you will make, it is the largest line item that is permanent on your budget. It is something that you really have to be super cautious of. And so if there were one thing on the budget to make sure that you stay within your means on, it is that home for sure.
All right, so I'm about to get into a controversial one.
Oh, Lord.
Controversial topic right here.
Oh, Lord.
Because is this a need or is this a want? I'll be interested to see what the comments come back on this one as we talk about personal care.
Oh, Lord.
So look, me, all I need is a haircut a couple times a month. You know, I got my COVID hair going on now. Got the most hair I done had in 30 plus years. So all I need is a cut a couple times a month.
Mm-hmm.
But when we talk about personal care, how much personal care should someone have built into the budget that it exceeds the point of need and ventures over into the area of want?
Ooh, that's such a good question. Husband, I will honestly tell you, I don't know. You got me on that one.
So that tells you right there that somebody is doing a whole lot more.
Okay, listen, let's call out personal care. Personal care could be hair, nails, makeup, nowadays lashes. You know, there's a lot. There can be a lot to keep a woman, a person, you know, just honestly, sometimes it's just to look normal. You know what I'm saying? Just to look like you woke up. You know what I mean? But I will honestly break the budget to get my hair done. I would. That is the honest to God truth. I will color my hair until the day I die. That is something I have been very honest with myself about. So that is a need for me. It is
budget breaker right there.
So therefore, it has to be a permanent line item that Erica's hair gets done and colored, not just cut. See, you know, that's the truth. So that is a need for me. And
I'm embracing my gray hairs as they grow in.
You enjoy that, okay? Have fun.
You said that's my story, not yours. Huh?
That is your story. That is not my story. That is not my testimony, okay? I will be. And matter of fact, the world needs the world to know. If I go before you, you need to be making sure my edges are colored. Because the sister got to look good in that coffin, okay? I'm just saying. I
got you. Okay. You go before me, I got you.
Have my back. I'll let you know what. If you go before me, I'm gonna let all your grays be out there just because you said you good with it. Okay.
Wow, you
good. You good. You said you was good.
Trim me up. Just trim them up. Make them low.
I'll trim you up. We don't need any type of color for men or whatever it is, because
look, brother, stop it with all that jet black color out there. It don't look natural. Okay. You're gonna do it, blend it in.
Yeah, I think it's important to figure out what the need is. Do I need to have my nails done? No. Do I like it? Sure. Do I need to get a massage every so often? No. Do I like it? Yes. And there was a time when the only thing I did for upkeep was hair. I didn't buy makeup. That wasn't my thing. And there was, but I have grown to the place where I'm like, I kind of like to keep my nails done. I kind of like to have a massage every so often. And we can afford to do that now. But I think figuring out what you're going to break the budget to get is important.
Yeah. And I think, you just need to be realistic in what the needs are.
Yeah.
And if you have wants that are transitioning into the needs category, just make sure they have a line on the budget and make sure that budget is something that you're adhering to as you're working towards that bigger plan. So,
yeah.
But I got a question I wanna ask you before we get to the is it worth it? What are like one or two traps that you've seen people fall into when we talk about needs versus wants?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that we want it so badly that it turns from a want into a need, that we are not seeing clearly that this is unnecessary. So the three areas that I typically find this happening in is Amazon, right? Amazon has just become a staple. And for a lot of people, it is a slippery slope to getting packages on your door all the time. Dining out, of course, we already mentioned, is that slippery slope. Add that stuff up, see how much you actually are spending, and make a commitment to some new habits there. And then the third thing that traps us right about now is our subscriptions. Ooh, when you add up these $10, $15,
You got Hulu and
all the things,
Amazon Prime.
all of it, and they add up. And I actually had a client do this a few years back, and they added up to over $150 in gaming and subscriptions, and it was all things under $20. And we were able to at least cut that in half because some of that stuff just wasn't even being used by their children. And so
You're eating your future up right there in those subscriptions, because the fact that you were able to cut it in half, if they just reallocated those dollars and put it into retirement or savings, building, your emergency fund, you're going to have something that is going to be leading to wealth versus something that is keeping you from accomplishing that goal.
Come on now. That's good.
So let's talk about, is it worth it? So needs versus wants. When I say is it worth it, it's worth it to make sure that you cover the needs that are stated: food, clothing, shelter, clothing within reason, transportation, and, making sure you have medical care. So I think it's worth it to make sure from a needs perspective that you have that allocated. Now, when you talk about wants, is it worth it to bust the budget for some wants or things that, are just coming up? No. I think you just have to be realistic with yourself and either delay until you can pay for it or until it can make its way onto the budget.
Yeah.
So it's not worth it to bust the budget just to meet a need. So just be mindful of that. So what about you, Ericka?
Actually, the thing that I want to leave on that is it worth it statement is to consider, if not now, when, on your wants, right? So don't think that saying no means no forever. Saying no might mean just for this year or just for 6 months or just for a season, or if not this amount, how much is reasonable, right? So maybe it's not a dining out amount of $500. Maybe it's the dining out of $200 that is reasonable, and you make all of the effort that is necessary in order to keep that as your reality. So if not now, when, or if not this amount, how much, so that you can adjust the want to fit inside of what it is that your income can support.
I like that. No doesn't mean never. But, you got to be realistic with yourself.
Yeah.
So, hey, we want to thank you all for joining us again at the For Better and Worth podcast. Keep your comments coming, and we're definitely going to try and give you what it is you want to hear, and not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear also. So until then, I'm Chris.
And I'm Ericka, and we're so glad that you joined us today.
Thank you for spending some of your time with us today.
We appreciate all your support. So be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen to this podcast.
You can find us on Instagram at For Better and Worth.
And sign up for our email on forbetterandworth.com.
Till next time, we're out of here.